Hey, I just thought while I was out that I would have a candid discussion with you. There seems to be something wrong with this country. Wouldn't you agree? Something fundamentally wrong. And it's been happening for decades. Slowly, being ate away. And all of us know it. All of us see it. But most of us ignore it and try to hide it. There's this fear of our government and what it can do to you. Now, the government has done a lot to instill this fear in people through the media, through the laws that it passes, and through the things that it does to the states, individual businesses, and individual people. Slowly, it has been putting its superiority over all of us. And most of us are afraid of it. They don't want to look at it. Some of us are so afraid that they hide in their houses. They're worried about what they post on the internet. They worry that the government will come for them. And very well with this NDAA bill, they might do just that. So there's a certain level of risk that I'm taking by being so open. Though, admittedly, at the opening stages of this, I don't think that they'll come after individuals at first. First it'll be groups, and then it'll be individuals. And it'll be under the guise of patriotism and under the guise of trying to keep America safe. Well, who needs to have big detainment centers whenever each of us is detained in our own homes, in our own businesses, and in our own backyards? We're so afraid of the government. The government should be afraid of its people. Those that remember social studies class will remember that there's a checks and balances between the different branches of the government to make sure that there's fairness. But the founders very well knew the government, any government, is prone to tyranny, and given enough time, like mold on yogurt, it will grow and grow until it takes over the whole entire thing. So there was one last checks and balance. One final thing that they thought that they could do to make sure that the government would stay in line. And that was our gun rights. The right to bear arms. Now, for some of you who automatically are thinking, hey, this guy's a conservative Republican. I don't consider myself one or the other. I consider myself an American first and foremost. I have Republican and Democratic beliefs, libertarian, you name it. I am my own person. I am an American. But there was one last checks and balance, and that was your gun rights. Because they knew that once a tyrannical government starts overtaking its citizens, that it would inevitably start taking over each and every single right that they put in the Bill of Rights and in the Constitution. They knew it. And so there was one last thing. Because I hate to tell you, my friends, as much of those that are against guns say that they kill people and whatever the government has fed you to believe, ultimately guns are there for one thing. And I mean, yes, it's for hunting. That's not the primary purpose. That's not the reason why militia and bear arms are in the same amendment. It's because when worse comes to worse, you had the right to bear arms to make sure that the government stayed in line. Now, most of us want to resolve things peaceably, but governments that do not allow protest that is civil will invite revolution that is violent. Now, those aren't my own words. And at the moment, I'm lapsed to remember who exactly it was, but I believe it was one of our presidents. Now, that doesn't mean that I am calling anyone to arms, mind you. I'm just reminding you, as an American, that voting is very important. Reading the Constitution. Now, I know some of you aren't readers. They don't like to read, and I can understand that, but the Constitution is not that long. In fact, there are bills in Congress that are much longer than that. It's a quick read and self-explanatory, as much as they like to make it sound like the Constitution is some archaic Old Testament type of writing. It really isn't, and it is just as applicable then as it is now. Read it. Know what your rights are. Because our government and our country is broken right now. You need to know and you need to understand your rights. Because they're not afforded to you by the Constitution. As it is stated in the Constitution, freedom and liberty is a natural cause of being born. So just remember that. Remember that you're an American. Remember that your vote does matter. And I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, because that's freedom too. But I'm going to tell you that you need to start calling your congressman. You need to start harassing them. You need to make it very clear that the American people want peaceful resolution between us and the government. But by sheer numbers, we will be there if it's not. Well, good night. I'm going to go get me some ice cream.